Chapter 71 began with Ki-hoon hearing heavy footsteps coming from the dungeon, and he soon discerned numerous red eyes in front of him. Other hunters noticed this as well, remarking that they had barely managed to defeat just over 20 high orcs. However, what stood before them now were more than 50 high orcs. One high orc approached Ki-hoon and stared him directly in the face. His fellow hunters felt uneasy, but Ki-hoon calmly instructed them to stand down, explaining that fighting now would only lead to unnecessary deaths. Ki-hoon clenched his trembling fist, wishing that Mr. Choi or Ms. Cha were with them at that moment. Suddenly, the orc shouted at Ki-hoon in its language, prompting a chorus of roars from the many orcs behind it. Then, without warning, the orc's eyes turned white as if something had taken control of it. It began to speak in the human tongue, introducing itself as Kargalgan, expressing a desire to meet the hunters. The other hunters were taken aback, surprised that the orc could speak their language. A mage hunter interjected, stating that the orc was merely a puppet, with someone else speaking through it. Ki-hoon then questioned the orc, asking if it had blocked the cave entrance. The orc confirmed that it was indeed the almighty shaman of the proud orcs and added that its magical barrier could not easily be destroyed by humans. Ki-hoon pressed further, inquiring if there were beasts within the cave stronger than Kargalgan. The orc challenged Ki-hoon, asking who would dare stand against it and offering Ki-hoon a choice: to die at the hands of its soldiers or to follow them into the dungeon. Ki-hoon decided they would join the orcs, shocking the other hunters, who felt powerless in the face of so many high orcs. Jinwoo contemplated the situation, considering that aside from the boss, many more high orcs were likely waiting in the boss's lair, significantly diminishing their chances of victory. He speculated whether Ki-hoon intended to negotiate with the boss to find a way out of the dungeon. In Ki-hoon's mind, he realized they had little choice, and this was their best option in the current circumstance. He suddenly called out to Jinwoo, explaining that they planned to launch a surprise attack on the boss once they spotted it. He believed that whether they succeeded or failed, the boss would not be able to maintain the magical barrier blocking their exit for long. While distracting the boss, he could seize the opportunity to escape and call for help from the main strike squad. But the battle might be over before the backup arrives, Jinwoo replied. He questioned whether Ki-hoon was really willing to risk everyone's lives to take down the boss. Ki-hoon responded that their ultimate goal was to close the gate and escape the dungeon alive, emphasizing that many people had invested in them to achieve this. Meanwhile, a female healer approached Jinwoo, requesting a favor. She handed him a will, asking that if he managed to escape, he delivers it to her family. Another hunter spoke up, stating that they would do their best, as they had trained, and asked Jinwoo to ensure he made it out alive. Jinwoo agreed to hold onto the will temporarily, but insisted he had no right to deliver it. The scene shifted outside the dungeon, where Hunter Hae-in had arrived. Upon seeing the gate, she sensed that the intensity of the mana waves indicated that the battle inside was still ongoing. The miners outside wondered why Hunter Hae-in was there. In her thoughts, Hae-in was searching for someone, suspecting that they might have quit the mining team. The foreman of the miners asked her why she was there on her day off, to which Hae-in inquired if a hunter named Sung Jinwoo was working that day. The foreman informed her that Jinwoo had entered the gate with the strike squad to fill the porter position. Hae-in was taken aback. She couldn't believe an E-rank would willingly enter an A-rank gate as a porter. She recalled seeing him the previous day in front of the boss lair, armed, and sensed something was off. Deciding to enter the gate, Hae-in startled the foreman, who asked if there was an accident that required reinforcements. Hae-in assured him it was a personal matter and not to worry. Before entering, Hae-in realized she had no weapon and asked the foreman if there was anything she could borrow. He instructed a team member to fetch equipment, but when Hae-in saw it was just a pickaxe, she asked if there were any swords or spears available. The foreman scratched his head and explained that they were a mining team, and that was all they had. Hae-in returned the pickaxe, stating she would go in unarmed. Just as she turned to leave, the foreman asked if she was sure about entering without a weapon. Embarrassed and trembling, Hae-in felt uncomfortable without one. She bowed her head, retrieved the pickaxe, and hurried toward the dungeon. The scene shifted to the inside of the dungeon, where the strike squad, accompanied by the high orcs, approached the boss's lair. As they entered, they were met with a staggering number of orcs, far exceeding the foes they had encountered before. In the center of the lair, the dungeon boss sat on an imposing throne, exuding a powerful aura. Flanking the throne were 4 formidable orc guards, their muscles taut and weapons at the ready, clearly indicating their readiness for battle. Suddenly, the boss spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber as he welcomed the humans with an air of authority.